Welcome, engineer Femi Mogaji. I'm really happy to have you on this podcast, and I know you're a mentor to many. On ADPlist, you are top 1% mentors, and we have several minutes of mentorship with many students, aspiring cybersecurity enthusiasts, and I know you have a lot of experience with them. And this is one of the reasons we have you on this podcast so that we can delve into cybersecurity career for most of these enthusiasts and have a mentor perspective, and and also based on your journey, your experience, we can all learn from that. I know you've worked with various companies both in Nigeria, outside Nigeria, so you have a vast knowledge of experience. And I would just want people to know you, what you've achieved, so that they will know that we are talking to someone who is already engrafted in cybersecurity for a long period of time. Please, can you introduce yourself to our audience? Thank you, sir.
All right. All right. First things first, thank you both for having me. I think the pleasure is more of mine. Always great to reach out to people out there, share my experience, even if it's just to encourage the day. I always like that. So, as you already know, my name is Olufemi Mogaji. I have over a decade of experience in infrastructure, cybersecurity, basically a mix of both, right? So over a decade so far. Currently, I manage information security for a company called Multigate, right? And they are involved in. I'd rather not talk about what they do, but we do a lot of. We're also in payments, and our market is kind of niche, so I don't want to go into that too much. But then again, what I do is I manage information security, ensure our compliance requirements are met, and things like that. Now, if you want to ask me how long I've been doing this, yes, I already said like 13, like what, 12 years, thereabout. In terms of cybersecurity itself, I think I really stepped into it like, yes, 2011, 2012, thereabout. That was when I wrote that so 2011 I wrote my CISSP exam, right? That's how many years ago now? That was what,
Still SSP in 2011.
yes, I did it at A level. And,
Wow.
I think when you go to CISSP now, you have to, I think it's computer based. Back then, it was pen and paper, like shading, like you shade all the questions, they
Yeah.
ship it back to the US. You won't hear you'll know your results for like 6 weeks thereabout, So I passed my CISSP there, but I didn't have the experience. But I think some 3, 4 years later, I now got my certification and whatnot. So I've worked in a MasterCard personalization company where requirements for Mastercard then were really stringent, and for my job to make sure I complied. I moved into investment banking, Kakao Discount House, later a bank West Merchant Bank again. I worked on a lot of infrastructure, but cybersecurity, a mix of both. Then I moved into the tech industry by virtue of our Venture Garden Group. I'm now Venture Garden Group. That was when I tried to get you. So Venture Garden Group is a really is a company that holds multiple technology companies that focus on different parts of the Nigerian economy. So education, payments, things like that. And my job was to help execute cybersecurity across board, across all these companies, myself and my team. Then afterwards, I worked remotely for a US company. Then I'm now right now I'm at Multigate. So that's basically a summary of it.
Wow, wow, that's quite impressive. Well, CISSP in 2011, and how many years experience do you have that time before diving into it? Because now
Okay, so the thing is, go ahead. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
think the requirement now is you must have like 5 years of experience before writing taking CISSP.
The requirement was always the same. Now the thing about ISC2 is that they won't stop you from writing the exam. I mean, they'll happily collect your money and give you the exam to write. But the requirements are clear, right? When you pass the exam, you need to prove that you have 5 years of information security experience under your belt. Now, my first job ever was in 2010, right? And I had worked, my role then was to look at the MasterCard requirement and make sure that our network infrastructure, our applications comply. That was it. Like back then, the word startup was not a thing, but that was really a startup. A small company, 25 man strong, but we were making Mastercards for banks, like you name all the major banks, were making Mastercards. You understand? And so those kinds of companies, in fact, advertising is being frowned upon because in niche industry, you don't want attention drawn to yourself. You just do your thing and make your money. So my role was just to come, look at the Mastercard requirements and ensure that our systems, infrastructure applications complied, right? A year later, the head of information security resigned, and they were like, "Okay, Femi, you've been doing this thing. Why don't you just step in?" Like, and I just stepped in then as in an acting role. Like the second year in my career, I was made the head of information security. Like,
Wow.
okay, so what am I gonna do now? Yes, but the it looked like it was funny. It was funny to do so observe it, but the uh, the requirements and the burden was real. Like we had auditors that were coming from Singapore every year because there were only like 5 or 6 auditors in the world who audited Mastercard certified companies, and I was responsible for ensuring that we passed those audits.
Wow.
So that was the GRC side. Then I had to still go into servers, go into personal machines, look at our CCTV, look at our CCTV, all these things. So I had a lot to do, and it made sense to me. Like, okay, fine, I'm now doing cybersecurity for real. Oh, I did tell you how I got into cybersecurity.
Yeah, that was the next question I was going to that. What actually
I,
sparked
I
your
mean,
interest?
yeah, I mean, I can just mix it. I can just roll it up into the story, right? So the
Okay.
first thing was I was just generally interested in tech, right? I was like, okay, fine, let's do CCNA. And I'll tell you this for free. When I ventured into my training for the CCNA, I wasn't exactly cognizant of what exactly it's about. I thought, okay, maybe it was an IT exam or an IT training, I thought maybe I would know about servers and things. I was kind of disappointed. Just networking, what's this? But money had been paid, I was like, okay, fine. I mean, thanks to my sister who sponsored the first set of certifications I ever had. I'm talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different exams. So I'm going to come into that. Right. So this was 2008. Right.
Wow.
When I started configuring my packet tracer, that simulator that simulates switches and routers. No, sorry, just routers, not really switches. I fell in love with it. Like uh, networking came so naturally to me. When people were struggling with subnets and things, I got it. I just simply got it. So doing my CCNA, I was like, you know what? I don't do any other thing. This is networking that I also do for the rest of my life. That was
Wow.
how I absolutely felt, So I did my CCNA, I passed, and I'm like, okay, I think that was 2008. Then I went to serve in 2009, right? Then when I came back, I was like, okay, while I was serving, I started my CCNP journey. Back then, it was 4 exams, routing,
What was
switching,
your background like before this? Like, what do you
Okay,
study in
I
school?
studied management. I studied management technology at LASO.
Oh,
So I
wow.
came out with a bachelor of technology. Yeah. So I mean, there was that. It was a mix of engineering, project management, IT. So it was a new course there. So that just kind of opened my mind up to engineering a lot. So that was my background. So I doing like networking and something like engineering was just natural for me. Then when it was now time for my CCNP, that was back then it was 4 exams. I think now it's 3. I can't remember. It was 4 exams back then. I did that, Then I did my CCIT also. So I'm just going to certified internet network expert,
Wow.
internet network professional. That's why I do BGP, do NPLS,
MPL. Wow.
right? So I did that. I passed that exam because I love networking so much, right? The the MPLS training there just taught you mostly about MPLS VPNs and whatnot. When it came to traffic engineering, there were separate materials for that. I went and read those materials, So I don't really loved it, but I went deep into networking, and this is me being honest, right, about my career journey. I was like, oh yeah, okay, yes, it's time to like put my skills to the test, get a job, and I was like, where are the jobs? The jobs were not coming, right, brother. They were not coming. I was like, what's this? What's going on here? And even my first job was just sheer luck. It was absolute luck. Like, where I was staying, the neighbor just saw me. Oh, Femi, she saw me. I think she was on leave then, and she saw me doing something on the Tuesday afternoon, like around the house. I mean, what are you doing? I know I was supposed to be at work, and I told my story that see, this is what I do. I'm still out there looking for work and all that. I wasn't long out of service, but then all through service I was looking for this job. I didn't get it. So she introduced someone, uh, Mr. Dari. That's a separate conversation, right? And they were like, "Oh, I know this company. They're just starting up. They're trying to set up um, their infrastructure, and they need someone who can come and do things. Just come in there. I can't even take the salary on this call. And I want I think that when you're just trying to get your job in the early part of your career, you are made to understand that, okay, you need to have a particular composure when you're trying to negotiate salaries. I just went to, I met the head of operations there, and I was like, see, this is what I'm looking for. Well, like, this is how much I'm paying. You'll be like, oh, and I took the job like that. So, but I'm so grateful for that job because that was a great opportunity. That
Wow.
was I spent the first 3 years of my career, right? So I just got in there. It's from day one, it was work. Day one work. So I had to learn Active Directory, I had to learn Windows 7, I had to learn all those things on the fly.
Wow.
I had to configure AD, I had to configure. I worked with HSMs. Like
Wow.
now that you're talking about like key vault in the cloud, then I worked with actual hardware,
Address.
system. I've forgotten the name of that of the brand there. I configured CCTV, I built our access control system because of the stringent requirements. We had to get a system from the vendor that was based in Italy, right? So
Wow.
we did all of that. By the time I joined, they had left. So I had to learn that thing like on my own. So it was a crazy beginning, right? And then I think a year after that, my colleague who was the head of security, who is also my friend till today, he left. He went and started building things. He was one of the first pioneers in the Lagos tech scene. Just went and started doing his thing, right? And they were like, okay, Femi, come and be head of information security. Oh, I can't say no now.
Wow. That was a
So I
big
started,
art.
and by then I was already so my enthusiasm for security was off the rail. Wow, okay, so this is a whole world entirely. My networking knowledge was still there helping me, but then I had so much to learn. I had to learn so much. So I asked myself, like, what's the best way to get into the information security? Just know it. And to be very honest, the CISSP certification is actually a great way to get into cybersecurity.
So,
The only
so,
problem is that,
okay,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. So, no, I want you to complete that thought before I ask my question on that CSSP you did.
It's a great way to get into cybersecurity. The only downside is that for you to hold the full certification, you need a certain level of experience. You need years of experience.
Okay.
But it's a great way, and why I say so is that, and they will tell you that CISSP is a mile wide and an inch deep. It's not designed to make you an expert in anything, but it's designed to bake a lot of information security concepts, cybersecurity architecture, things like that into your head. You just apart from the material, you also need to display some level of outfield experience, not just necessarily cybersecurity. So that so it's great because it introduces you to a lot at the same time. But at the same time, is a hard way to get there. Let me just put it out.
So the question I wanted to ask is that with the limited years of experience you had that time, how were you able to manage to pass the CSSP? At least you had maybe 1 or 2 years experience before writing that exam there.
Okay. So the first thing is that I was I think I was lucky in many ways. The first thing was that the company chose to pay for my training, right? So
Wow.
there was actually training. One of my mentors back then, he was the one who ran that company, and when we're no more than five in class, five. I know, like, okay, fine. Everybody introduce yourselves. And we're all young, and this and that. Like, hi, I'm Femi. I'm the CISO. I'm like, CISO. Ever since then, that's what he called me, the Youngest CISO. That was, and see, just picture this, right? We're a personalization company and we're engaging back. And if you worked in the tech scene, right? This was before there was a bustling tech scene. Like, if you work in the current tech scene, if they engage with a bank at a high level, there will be a point where they will send in their auditors. They want to look at your system. your logs and things like that,
Compliance.
your documentation. So the bankers will send me their auditors and they'll be like, who's this one? But guess what? I'll ask all their questions, I'll put their fears, and then they'll go around, they're like, okay, fine, okay. Well, I find it works, it works. A young person who's in CISO, but then he gets the job done. So it was really interesting at that time. But yeah.
Wow, wow, that's impressive. Then I would like to ask, during those years, what are the biggest challenges that you faced early in your cybersecurity career? Um, Being that you have to wear so many hats at a very young age, in that with your experience and all that, and how were you able to overcome them? There was one thing I faced let me just share this. When I
Mhm.
was coming up, people I was so young, and I was interfacing with many customers. So they tend to
Yeah.
despise me because I'm young and I want to maybe
Yeah.
integrate something or solve issues for them. And when they hear me speak and when they see me do stuff, that's when they now begin to give me a level of validation. You understand? So I had to fight my way through by proving myself that because I'm young doesn't mean I don't really know what I'm doing and all that. So I just want to what were your biggest challenges and how were you able to overcome them?
Okay, so I'll answer that question, but I'll also kind of buttress how I was able to manage that CISSP learning, but I'll come back to that. Um, you know, you- Ultimately, you're dealing with human beings, right? And human beings have their biases. All right. Your first job is to know your audience. So if you are, for example, if you're dealing with bankers and whatnot, right? If you're dealing with them like face to face or whatnot, you have to understand their biases and play to that. So, for example, if you are having to deal with people who have a particular way of dressing, a particular way of thinking, a particular look, if if the impression you make on them is important to you, then you need to just fit into that role. So, for example, when I joined the first company I worked with, Berkeley Technologies, that's their name, right? If you had to go and meet customers, you'd dress smart, like wear a shirt, tuck in, make sure you look good, make like all these beards and all that, like just make sure you look smart. That's on the one side because ultimately that is why when you go for exam, right, that's why when you go for interviews, you dress a particular way because you're trying to make a good impression. So as a young person, you are tempted to not want to care about how you look after all you're going to do something. But the truth is, you know, even when you approach someone that you are trying to hurt, your first look always drops an impression. Talk less of people that you're trying to work with, people that are trying to gain value from. So that first impression has to be there. The other thing was the one that you just mentioned now, which is you just need to know your stuff. There's no other way around it. That's simply it. And if you've heard people speak about people that they've mistaken that they've made a mistake of misjudging the past. Maybe, oh, I met Femi somewhere, but when he started doing things, I kind of respected him. It's consistent. If you can show your competence, all those things will slide away. That's the truth. So, um, unfortunately, in cybersecurity, you cannot. There's a limit to which you can fake something.
Yeah.
Because yeah, because again, I'm going to come back to the question that you had about the CISSP, how I was able to manage. The truth is, by design, cybersecurity is not an entry level career for anything. It simply is designed for entry level. Now, I know we're going to move into my mentorship and what I do, whatnot. But the thing is, uh, if you want to if you want to engage people as a young cybersecurity professional, not trying to engage them, probably trying to learn something from them, but you're trying to deliver value. You just need to be competent to that role, right? And when the day and age where there is simply no part of cybersecurity where you will not find materials out there,
Yeah.
or at least people to talk to, where you can just learn all two things, and that's just like it. You will see it's the bias is never gonna go away. Since the days of Shakespeare, since the days of if you're a young person trying to enter a field that has lots of veterans in it, you will be looked down on because again, young people have a lot of energy and they tend to jump up and down. That is a reality, and that's not a bad thing. You just need to be wise to understand the realities of how people see things. So if you're trying to engage people who you need to understand their biases and just place those biases. Okay, fine. You need someone who is well spoken, so someone who is that competence is a given. If you're trying to work with probably tech companies who don't care about how you look, then fine, you can now adjust to that. But you just have to face the reality of what's in front of you. That's the truth. Now, in terms, I know you asked a question around my CISSP, how I was able to manage them. There was a training. I had to. They were YouTube. So I've got no name of this lady that she worked. I think she worked for the NSC and she did that CISSP and she had a lot of videos. I think it was my mentor that actually shared those videos with me. So, and things were not readily available online as they are now. So it was online. It was tough. It took me like 6 months to prepare for that exam. Until today, this is 13 years later. It's still the hardest exam I've ever written ever. Because when I was young, I did not know that I passed or failed. When I wrote my CISM from years later, I knew I'd passed. When I wrote my CIS, I knew I'd passed. But when I wrote my CISSP years before, I did not know that. And guess what? One of the top instructors then, I remember watching that video. She was like, "I see, you have to pass this exam because even me, I don't do that exam again." That's how tough that exam is. So yeah.
If you were to take the exam now, how many maybe months or days will it take you to prepare?
I don't want to take that exam again. That's all I'll take for free. But for that exam, it's really, and then there were no certificates. There are no dumb certificates.
Well, yeah, even till now.
There were no, if we able to ahead other than think exam that you write on paper that you shade and you send, there were you will not see those questions anywhere. You had to really just prepare and pass. So yeah.
Okay, so moving to the next question, what are the most in demand? As a mentor, you've spoken to, like, you've mentored a lot of people, and you've seen their desire in cybersecurity and rules. And I want to ask that what are currently the most in demand cybersecurity roles in right now, and what are the skills that employers are looking for right now? I know cybersecurity is a very vast field, but uh, based on your experience as a mentor, what do you think about this?
Ah, it's it, it's really hard to quantify or to lay a finger on the most in demand because things are changing rapidly. And the truth is, the most in demand skills of 5 years ago are still the most in demand skills of today. Now, what I can just say is that um, it's the way companies are now trying to hire, right? Uh, First things first, there's very little room for entry level cybersecurity roles, and that's the truth. And like some companies try to bring in analysts, but it's not always an easy thing. Now, in terms of in demand roles, especially at the entry level, I do a lot of companies, especially big companies, they are trying a lot of companies are trying to buttress their security operations. So they're always looking for security analysts, right? Now, in terms of security analysts, it's one of the roles where you can start at an entry level, right? Where your job is just to basically look at events and you just need some basic information to try and just escalate. So that your job is just to see what's going on and escalate or try and resolve if you can. Those kinds of roles are a bit more forgiving for entry level professionals. And you would see there seems to be some demand there. And it's driven by many things. For example, in Nigeria, CBN has, I think, some years ago mandated that banks must have what do you call it, SOCs, like security operations centers, where all your events into your security information and event management system are being monitored, and there is actually like operation security operations in place to identify incidents, investigate, escalate, remediate, things like that. Right now, some banks can afford to have that in house, but not all companies can do that. Not all banks can do that. So what has happened is that there has been a proliferation of smaller companies that offer managed SOC services. Now, those smaller companies, what they do is that they bring in people and be like, okay, fine, sit down behind a computer, and monitor these events, and and they sell those services to companies, to banks. So that way, you don't have to, as a company, you don't have to hire a team of SOC. You just need to pay an amount of money to a managed service provider, and they provide you that SOC service. So, um, yes, there's that. I think there's a demand for the SOC analyst. That's
SOC
a big one.
analyst.
Yes. In terms of GRC, there's a demand for entry level cybersecurity analysts that focus on GRC. But I'll tell you for free, GRC is one of the easier roles to enter in cybersecurity because it's relatively non-technical, just about reading and understanding things. But the downside of something being easy to enter is that it's very, very crowded, right? So there are many people who are trying to be cybersecurity analysts, GRC people, and you know, it is what it is. So yes, and yes, cloud security is also very much in demand, and I have a few mentees uh who started with and are focusing on red teaming, offensive security, verification, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, things like that. Those roles are open in large companies, but large companies statistically are not many. You are if you're going to be hired, you are more likely going to be hired by a mid-level company. And mid-level companies don't have time for person that will just be focusing on penetration. You need to know blue teaming, you need to know cloud security, implementing controls, implementing network security, security awareness, things like that, right? So um for entry level, I would recommend you look at uh more blue team type skills. So I'm talking about cloud security, especially cloud security is great. SOC, being a SOC analyst is also great. Microsoft has a great certification for that. Obviously, focused on Microsoft Azure, but Microsoft Azure is, I dare say, is one of the in things right now. Lots of companies are really loving Azure and Microsoft Azure. So it's if you're trying to get into cybersecurity at the early age, at Microsoft cybersecurity certification, especially the SOC analyst certification.
Thank you so much. So, how about I know you have more than a decade experience, and a lot of things has changed. I know, and you have to keep morphing, for it to even survive. For it to even survive now, you've seen a lot of technologies, and you have to learn, keep learning, and all that. I would like to ask that, from the time you kickstarted your career till now, how has the cybersecurity landscape evolved over the past few years, and what are the most significant changes that you've actually observed?
Okay, so the obvious thing is cloud security, right?
Oh, yeah.
So how the cloud started was, I mean, AWS came, started their thing, and developers jumped on there and started doing all these amazing things, right? And there were lots of workloads running in the cloud, but they were not secure, right? So now, there was now a need for, okay, we need people to learn uh, cloud security, not just like configuring things, but actually securing them. So um, that that change has been there, and a lot of cloud skills have also a lot of security skills have also moved to the cloud. The cloud is picking up everything, it's sucking up everything, it's sucking up career, sucking up. So that has been the major change, right? So a lot of need for cloud security professionals. And the other thing that I've seen that is the change is that when back then and even long before then, um, cyber security, um, like getting people into entry level cybersecurity was not a thing. The thing is, you need to be productive in an area of IT before you move into cybersecurity. That was always a thing. Like either you're a IT desktop support person, you're a developer, or you network engineer, or those were the things. Then with time, you learn security concept, and you move into cybersecurity. That is why it feels like a lot of entry level cybersecurity professionals are struggling because when you get into cybersecurity, first, you have left behind a lot of things, and you have to learn many things at once. Compared to someone who just started, okay, I'm just an IT support person, that's fine. Okay, Windows, this Windows that you start to learn, okay, Windows configuration, okay, fine. You start to learn about Windows Server, okay, fine. And by supporting Windows Server and Windows endpoint, you already start to know a bit about networking, right? That's great. You get better and better. Okay, fine, cyber security role. You look at this thing and I'm like, okay, I can do all these things technically. I just need to understand cyber security concept. When you now learn cybersecurity concepts, added to your years of experience actually working with these with these technologies, it becomes a given for you to move into that. But now the change now is that people are trying to get into cybersecurity fresh. I mean that it's one of the reasons why I started my mentorship network, because first things I really didn't have a mentor, well, an active mentor where I would meet and talk and say these things to. I didn't really have a lot of that, but now the need is even more because people are interested in cybersecurity, but they are struggling because you did not go through a phase of just deploying workloads in the cloud and configuring virtual machines or configuring routers or configuring firewalls or configuring devices or just building applications, building websites. They didn't go through that. They just want to get in cybersecurity. Now, how are you going to, what time do you have to learn like application development, infrastructure concepts? Well, that
Operating
has been the
systems,
change.
virtualizations, all
Yeah,
that.
that has been the change they had, and and it's not a bad thing. The truth is, that demand is just a requirement of the market. Cybersecurity has been a big thing now. We just need more people in there, right? So it makes sense for you to bring in people and try and train them. But companies, even before cybersecurity, companies didn't like training people. They expect you to come in out of school and have 5 years of experience. That's how these companies operate these days. They just want you to have experience with cybersecurity. They want you to know all these things. And remember, cybersecurity is something where you have to trust something, trust somebody with the crown jewels. So that has been the change. There is an increased demand for cybersecurity. A lot of people are also trying to get into it, but it's like this. There's a lot to be. There's a lot to gain, or there's a lot more to do for you to really settle into your first cybersecurity job as a cybersecurity professional. It's just great if you coming through ways. Like now for me, for my mentorship, for the mentorship I offer, after speaking to you, and once I see that you have a non-technical background, I'll let you know that I'm trying to push you through a long route. Go through ADPlist, go and do network plus, have virtual box on your system, install the virtual, like just play with these things so that you know exactly what you're dealing with. You can be doing that while still learning probably gradually learning your security laws, but you still need to go through that path of just understanding, just even what your computer is all about. Where's your RAM? Like, what's the difference between different CPU classes? Like, it's there are some basic things that you would take for granted because you've been doing this for a while. But people like entering cybersecurity, especially those with non-technical background, I'm not talking about like computer science or computer engineering, like experience, but people with non-technical background, people with non-technical backgrounds enter cybersecurity and they become successful. There are many cases of that, but you have to be patient, and the fruits are there to be reaped. You just have to be patient. You just have to go through that path, knowing, be working in, or developing your actual productive IT skills before you say you want to start securing IT workflows.
Oh, well, thank you for that knowledge. The one of the things I'm taking out of this is that before people had knowledge of IT support, they already have maybe a background to it. As opposed to what we have today, that people just want to dive in directly from where they are what they are doing before to cybersecurity, and they have to learn a lot and all that. And that's becoming challenging. And we have a lot of platforms for mentorship, which are also um doing as well, which I'm still going to come into. But I would just want to ask for someone that wants to pursue a career in cybersecurity. You mentioned some things about having a virtual box, creating a lab for yourself, learning the basic things in computers, knowing difference between RAM, CPU, and all that. So all those things will add up to the knowledge in your cybersecurity skills. But what advice would you actually give to someone that have interest in cybersecurity and want to pursue it as a career but does not have a technical background?
So, oh wow. Anyway, so no, no, so the thing is, first thing is that cybersecurity in itself is very broad, right? And it's one of the first things I learned in when I was studying for my CISSP way back then. Like, um, apart, like there were different modules, and there was a module for legal. The idea is, regardless of your current profession, right, there's actually a room for cybersecurity in there. Right now, if you now make the will first to come into technical, Like then you need to understand that, especially if you're here with non-technical background, you need to understand that you have to be patient and take the long route. Now, the most one of the best ways to get introduced into computers, so to speak, will be the Computer A plus. I think they have a three level certification before that, but you don't have to do that. You can just go straight to the A plus. It teaches you computers from A to B afresh, like every single, like all the major parts, like networking. It teaches you. It doesn't go deep into that, but it teaches you a lot. Now, the A plus itself is designed to make you someone who is ready to provide IT support. Now, an IT support person is one of the lost arts, if I can say, in tech, because you are someone who knows a lot of things. And I've done IT support, like I've done that work. So that's what the A plus does. It introduces you to computers with the aim of making sure that they work and making sure that they operate, and just a lot of other computer concepts. So the A plus is a great way just to introduce yourself into it. Right, that's number one. Um, Number two is, if programming is something that you're interested in, you can learn a programming language. You can actually learn a programming language. You can start with HTML and CSS and probably JavaScript or something. Just play with websites. There are many free tutorials out there on YouTube. I'd rather pay. You can pay for Udemy. You can pay for, I think there's this one. I think Codecamp. I forgot the name of that. So just get into. You need to first learn something that is actually technical, that is designed to produce something. So IT are designed to make, you're there to ensure things are, sorry, A plus, you're there to ensure things are working. As a developer, you're building things and like pushing output, right? When you are not along that path, you can now start to learn cybersecurity concepts. Security Plus is a great way to just enter cybersecurity. I just know the concept. Now, Security Plus won't make you someone who can just go and be productive on day one in a work environment, because again, it's just going to teach you the concept and the bare minimum. It's not going to get you in there. Now there are other security certifications that can push you deep into specific areas where you are actually knowledgeable. Probably AWS certified security specialty exam, but then those are things that require that you know exactly what you're doing before you start touching. For example, when I wrote my AWS security specialty exam, I had like 2 or 3 years working on AWS. No certification, just doing stuff, learning on the go, breaking things, rebuilding them. So when I was now doing that security specialty exam, there were a lot of things I was already familiar with. They're talking about DNS. I've been doing DNS for over 7 years. Where they're talking about operating system, I've been doing operating for years. So they went like, and in terms of the cloud concept, load balancers, instances on AWS, I'd already been working with those for years. And that exam was also a very, very hard exam. You get my point. You can't short circuit the process. You can't. It's not like see, this is the thing, right? Businesses and companies run on systems. Those systems are complex, and because they are complex, their security requirements are complex. There is no simple way for you to understand those complex security requirements to secure complex systems. You just need to pay your dues. That's it. And that is but that's what I've tried to do. And I'm seeing some successes in it in terms of my mentorship. I try to make people be patient, like go through this thing. If you have any questions, ask me. And I'll tell you if I may not know the answers to all your questions. If there are some questions to ask me, I'll literally share my screen, we'll Google it together. And I tell them one of the great skills I can have as a cybersecurity person is to know how to find answers to questions I know the answers to. That's the truth. Like a lot of time, 30% or 40% of my time is learning things that I don't know. Okay, fine. How is this thing working? I'm just that it's also a form of encouragement to them. I see it's okay to not know something. You just need to yourself out there and learn. So if I don't know things, we'll find out together. If I don't know, I have a network of people who are worked in the past. Hey guys, hi, so you've been a developer for the past 10 years. This person has a question. What answer do you have for them? I That's just how it is. But what I offer in my mentorship, and again, even though it's for free, like it's my free time, but what I'm offering is go through the process. Go through the process. Like I'm not a security professional that has gone through the process. I'm trying to tell you that so you can go through the process. And I admit that time is not everybody doesn't have that time. Some people just need to get in there and start to earn a living, and that's not a bad thing. You can walk and chew gum, right? I'm of the opinion that anytime that you learn that you spend learning, it should be it should move you closer to a certification because ultimately when you want to get a job, sometimes that's just what they need to see that okay, fine, you have this. You can now enter the interview and you don't realize you don't know anything. That's by the way. But the truth is, before you even get to those interviews, you need to show something. Saying that you've done so and so udemy courses doesn't exactly work. You need to say that you've done an exam. So I would say, okay, fine. If you have the time, you can work towards your security plus certification, just have it in there. But I'm gonna tell you for free, it's not gonna get you. It's you will still have a lot to learn when you get that first job, and that is what I now try to do. Walk them through that, learning the whole tech process, learning all tech concepts, A plus, M plus, for a good security plus, and things like that.
Thank you so much. So the next question I wanted to ask, I think you've touched it a bit, but I want you to, put much emphasis on that topic, which is how important are certifications in cybersecurity field, and how important is continuous learning in cybersecurity field. So you spoke slightly about those two, but I want you to put your thoughts on that so you can be able to get more things from more response from for that as well.
Okay, so the truth is there's some hardcore professionals that will be like certification, those that. I remember then when way back then, where I used to go online to just try and find out like, what can I do to get certification. And some people will come out, they'll use some people in all these forums, in all these foreign forums, they'll be like, it's the experience that you need, certification don't really. But the truth is, uh, for most companies, the person is going to source for CV is probably somebody in HR, and HR doesn't have they don't have time. They need to just see that okay, this one has okay, fine. It would be nice if you have so and so experience. But what if you don't have the experience? You're entry level. What are you gonna do? You can't say that you came out of a UNN with computer science or whatever that would. Yes, maybe that can, but your skill they need something to show that you have the skills that currently map to their reality, their current realities. And that's where certifications come in. Right? So certification, I feel like some people may disagree, but certifications are integral because I've done a lot of studying, right? But I can tell you that there's a difference between when I study something so that I can know it and probably apply it and move forward. And then I study something and I have to write an exam. Studying something for an exam, it requires you to be more immersed, to be more careful about what you are reading, taking notes before you write it. So those things actually get baked in longer, right? It's actually staying there. And even if you move into this, like time goes by, there's some skills you don't practice and they kind of slip through your hand. If you come against an obstacle where you need to revert to those skills, it's easier to pick up because you've already been through that process of baking the information into your head. So it's just easier to just pick up something. So a lot of times the people that you have to first get past is HR recruitment people and what they recognize as certifications. Somebody somewhere has set questions, you've gone and written it, and they trust that those people have checked your skills and they are saying, okay, fine, this person is certified in this particular skill set. I strongly recommend certifications, especially for people who are entry level. People who don't have the privilege of just landing one first job and they have some experience behind them. I strongly recommend certification. But that is the one of the few ways you can prove that first things first, that you're very serious about learning. That you're a driven person, you're self-driven, you invested your personal resources to learn this thing, right? And also shows that you find that skills that you have learned. And hey, if you're trying to prepare for an interview, and luckily that interview focuses on the area where you've done certification from, you have a wealth of material to just lean back on to just, let the interviewer know that you're ready for this role. So, I mean, sorry, have I answered all of that question? Because I know
Yeah,
you
you,
asked
you,
the
you
importance of it.
yeah you've answered the aspect of importance of certifications,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
to ask a further question on that, what certificate you
Yeah.
I think you mentioned about CompTIA A plus, for entry level computers. I think you've also answered that in the past as well, which settled the recommended certifications for entry levels and all that. Then the next question is, how important is continuous learning? You have 13 years of experience, and I know that the knowledge you had then in maybe in 2011 or 12 is quite different from what or you've built on it and all that. So I want to know how important it is in cybersecurity field continuous learning.
Well, I think most fields will benefit from continuous learning, but cybersecurity in itself, because cybersecurity is driven by the way cybersecurity is done is primarily driven by the things it needs to secure. So, for example, you are securing the cloud. Is the cloud changing a lot? Yes. So that means you have to be learning, you have to be updating your knowledge on cybersecurity. The kind of applications that are out there that are being deployed, for people to consume, the kinds of fact that they use, the kinds of technology that run behind them, are they changing? Yes, that means securing those things are changing. Cybersecurity changes as much as technology itself changes. So yes, continuous learning is actually a prerequisite for actually lasting in the field, right? So for me, for example, one of the most difficult places to implement security properly is in the cloud. And that's because the cloud has hundreds of services. Each of those services um, has its own security requirements, right? So it's hard to know, but there are some very popular services that you should know the security concept. But my own um, my own hack is this: once I'm having to deal with a new cloud service that I've never used before, just go to the documentation. There's always a security section, right? When you go to that security section that applies to that work, and just learn that. But yes, to your question, continuous learning is really key. It's for two things, because first things first, the world is really moving fast when it comes to technology. And 5 years ago, what was zero trust? Now it's a thing. Now it's the thing that everybody's talking about, and all of that. You just need to, apart from just technologies, new concepts and new ideas of how to implement cybersecurity keep coming up, because cybersecurity is a thing. It's not just a thing for businesses to worry about. Something that nation states are worrying about. You know, it's like it's the next frontier um for um for conflict. There was a course that I did back then on Coursera, International Cyber Conflict. And I learned a lot about how companies engage themselves in shadow wars when it comes to cybersecurity. So you have to just keep learning, and there are tools and resources out there. First thing that you can, one way to understand if you are up to date on cybersecurity, or one way to just keep up to date, is to subscribe to newsletters. One of the best newsletters that I use is Science. They call it Science News Nights. They send it out weekly. Yeah, so they give you the latest hacks and things like that. You just kind of, it gives you a window into what's going on. The kinds of, there was a time that ransomware wasn't really out there, but now you see it in the news. So you start to ask yourself, what it's about? How are we exposed to the risk, but perhaps personally as a company, things like that. That's on the one side. On the other side, just stay close to the very popular certification vendors. I'm talking about Microsoft. Microsoft is one of the best right now when it comes to providing cloud knowledge. Fine is suited to Azure, but the wealth of knowledge that is out there for every Microsoft certification, there is a free Microsoft link. You don't have to pay anybody for any book. You can just go there and read, and just pay for the exam and pass. I mean, good luck with passing the exam. But the thing is, you know, the knowledge is there. For each year, those Microsoft Learn articles, they always update them, you understand? So stay close to the vendors that provide security certifications, ISC2s, the ISACAs, the Microsoft, the AWS. Just stay close to them and just try and update yourself, and subscribe to news articles to just understand what is out there. And don't be shy from signing up for all these state of security reports from likes of maybe Fortinet, Cisco. Look for all these very popular companies. Every year they bring out like the state of cybersecurity, state of cloud security. All those things actually open your mind to actually what's going on out there. It just basically informs you as what you need to do to improve your skills. So yeah.
Yeah,
honestly.
wow, wow. Thank you. That's insightful. I'm really glad that you touch on that continuous learning, because the world is in a fast-paced mode now, and everything is becoming, more rapidly deployed, and you have to move with the pace. Thank you. Touching on what you're currently doing, which is mentorship. What role does mentorship and networking play in advancing cybersecurity career? And the follow up question would be that in your mentorship program, how can someone that is just starting up in cybersecurity benefit from that? And please also tell us the mentorship program so people can be aware of it.
Okay, so in terms of your networking, right? I think it's the same for every career. Like as you move along your career, it's important you maintain the more people you, the more the importance of the people that you know as you move along your career gets more pronounced as you rise higher and higher. So the idea is when you start your career, please don't make too many enemies. Just have friends around. Maintain contact. LinkedIn is there. LinkedIn is more like a social network now than actually a proper professional network. But that's by the way. Maintain contact with people. Dropping messages every now and then. Ask questions like personal questions. Just keep people in the know that they know that you're actually there, right? So network is really important. Now, like I told you, that lots of people are trying to enter cybersecurity. What does that mean? They are if you put out an advert for a role now, like lots of people apply. Unfortunately, if I happen to know somebody who I know is really skilled at that role, I'm going to invite them for an interview. Fine, the interview is going to be objective, but then they got an interview. Like when you apply for roles, you get a lot of rejection. You understand? One way to short circuit those rejections is to just have a network of people that you can talk to. Oh, hey, I'm looking for this role. I'm looking for this role. Like, do you know anyone that can? Or I've seen the advert of this role. I know somebody that knows someone that works there. Oh, can you help me talk to that person onto the hiring manager on my behalf? So it's when you know people, and that's on the one side, that's on the recruitment side. When problems happen, it's great to have a network of people that I can talk to. It's great to have one WhatsApp group of private professionals, ICT professionals. Like I just say, oh, I have this problem. Who can I talk to? They few forums like that. There's, I think, just on start. Uh, there is the ISC2 group also, where if you're in there, you can just ask questions. You can just pick out the
More like a forum.
yeah, more like a farm. So it's really important you have that both for the for your career purposes and also for the purpose of knowledge. Please, what was the follow up question to that again?
The mentorship. How was the importance of the role of mentorship in cybersecurity career, and how can we
It's really,
benefit
really
from
yeah,
the
it's really, really. I'm sorry for saying that, but it's really, really key. And why I say so is because when I started my career, I didn't really have like a mentor to just go to and say, "Oh, I have this." I had to learn on my own, and it's one of the things that inspired me to um, build my own mentorship network. All right, this is something that I've been thinking about for a couple of years. Like, how do I give back? How do I mentor to people so I can just help them? Like, people have lots of questions. When people see me, they always ask, "Oh, how do I get in cybersecurity career?" But it's always an informal conversation. When we go our separate ways, that's it. Probably I won't hear from them again. They won't hear from me again. And I'm bad with messages. But for ADPlist, I discovered them this year. It provides a structured where anybody can just go on there and just set up a mentorship network. You can just offer mentorship to those in your whatever career that you do. And obviously mine is cybersecurity. So now for you entering in cybersecurity, it's always good to have a mentor. Why? Because you will have someone you need to ask questions. You can't always ask your manager. If you start to ask your manager too many questions, you'll be like, oh, why did I even hire you? Say, this guy knows be anything. That kind of thing. So it's great to have somebody outside there that you can just talk and be like, this is what I'm going through. What do you think? I want to advance from point A to point B. What do you think? And I'll share my perspective. Again, it doesn't mean that I know the answers to all the questions, but I do have some experience. I can share my experience. So for people getting into cybersecurity, mentorship is really important. You have somebody, and you don't, and a mentor is like a piece of clothing, right? It's okay to outgrow a mentor. Like it would be great when if my mentors outgrow me. Where that means they've gone to a level where they are really great professionals. And now also to people who are more experienced, probably in the area of the branch, and we shake our hand and be like, "I've succeeded. That's great." Go and look for other mentors. I have a mentor. you know. So the thing is, mentorship is a lifelong thing. You for each stage in your life, on your career, there's somebody that is a step ahead of you, two, three, four, 5 steps ahead of you. Find out those people and learn how they got there, and just maintain a great professional mentor mentee kind of relationship with them. So that's on the other side. Now, the flip side, as a mentor, providing mentorship is because you've benefited from your career, right? If you had a lot of experience, it's a great way to give back. You know, if you don't have money to be dashing for exams, the next best thing is just to give your time. You understand? So give your time. It also helps in your own learning journey because you'll be asked questions that will make you think, oh, how can I do this thing better? And you are also inadvertently building a network of people who you can just say, okay, I need someone to fill in this role. Can you, somebody within my network, can you come and fill in this role? It has happened to me. Like I've met lots of really great dream people. I'm like, okay, fine, this person can fill in this role, connect them, and they're in the role. So it's both ways. The truth is there is nothing to lose in giving. And being a mentor is like giving your time. My time is one of the most precious things that you can have and that you can give as a result. So if you're someone who has a lot to give, I'll just recommend that, hey, just set up a mentorship network. Yeah, and it could be difficult in terms of time and being consistent. That's why there are many platforms. There's ADPlist. I think there are other platforms out there, but it's ADPlist that I know. Just set up in there. You can do even if it's just 30 minutes a week. Someone can just come in there, they'll take time. Talk to them for 30 minutes. By the end of the 30 minutes, they're graceful and they're really giving. It's a great thing.
Wow, thank you for that. So anybody can just log into ADP list or sign up on ADP list as mentee and get get
Yes.
a
Yes.
mentor.
So
Yeah.
if you want to set up your own mentorship network, right, you can just go to ADPlist, search for my name, Mogaji, it's there. Just and
Okay.
you can book
Please,
for an intro session, book a repeat session and whatnot. So yeah.
and it's free. Is it free?
It's absolutely free, 100%. Like there was a
Wow. Please.
mentee that joined like during the during her intro call. And I was a lady that, we she talked, gave me her background, talk about what she was doing, and I was like, if I this is what we'll do, this is what we'll do. If you're interested, you can book for repeat sessions, or if you want to end it out up to you. I have fine. She would like the repeat session. She was so happy, and she was like, okay, so how much will this cost? I'm like, I was like, no, I'm not asking for anything. I'm asking for nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's a remote session, like it's literally me just giving my time, and when I'm done, I just go back to my work and my family. That's just
Wow.
it.
Uh,
So absolutely free.
Wow. For other mentors as well on that platform, is it free or just your own?
Uh, well, there are lots of mentors who offer their time for free, but you can also be a paid mentor. There are people who you pay. Some call it like $75 an hour, $50 an hour. It's really up to them,
Oh,
So
okay.
and again, being a mentor, it depends. You need to ask yourself what your goal is. My goal is not to make money from other people trying to get into cybersecurity. If
Okay.
other people want to do that, that's entirely up to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
I
their
get.
own. Yeah, it's and it's something that I'll respect if you choose because time is money. There are people who are really busy and when they give you 1 hour of their time, like your brain will expand and all of that. But for me, my goal for entering mentorship was not to make money from it. It was just simply, I just woke up one day like, I've been in this career for a while. Can I turn around and look at people who have been influenced? There are a few, obviously, a few people who have reported to me or worked for me have influenced their careers positively, but I felt that that was just not enough. When I retire one day, I have to look back and say, okay, fine, I did something great for this field itself. And that this was just my opportunity or my way of doing it. That's just it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that clarity. Then moving on to interviews and hiring process. I know you've
Mhm.
worked in management role, hiring manager, and all that. And as a mentor, what would you say that they are the most common red flags in a cybersecurity job interview?
Whew. Okay, so I've interviewed for tens of roles, not just for the companies I worked for. There are companies in the past who have approached me for a role and I'll be like, no, I can't do the role. And they'll approach me and say, okay, fine, help us interview people that will fit into the role. And I've done that for a couple of companies too. So yes, I've interviewed people. Now, Okay, so the truth is, in as much as when we bring people into an interview, we want to assess them by their behavior, by their skills and whatnot, right? But impressions matter, right? Impressions really matter. Uh, I won't call it a red flag, but I will recommend that people get a quality webcam because most interviews today are remote. If I'm not seeing you clearly, it's all grainy or it's one kind. I'm like, okay. It's not. I've never turned down anybody because of that. But when somebody comes into the screen and their face is all clear and their voice is all clear and they are saying things and it's making sense, and two people are making sense. One person in video was cutting at one kind. Because we are when it comes to interviews, most interviews these days are primarily remote. It's great to invest in something that just make your
First time impression.
representation. That's number one. Number two, please do not for any reason badmouth your previous employer. I've seen a couple of and I'm wondering what people are thinking. Why makes you think that they will bring you in after badmouthing your previous employer? I'm an employer too now. You go and badmouth me elsewhere too. That's what it means. So please always say nice things about your employer, your previous employer. Even if they walked you to the point where you're almost. But that's by the way. Just always be very diplomatic in the way you talk about your previous employers, right? That's just it. And the other thing is there are always many things, but the other thing is just a general can do attitude. Like when I'm talking to somebody in an interview, I want to feel like I'm talking to somebody who is a human being, like someone who has a personality. You can it's okay to smile. It's okay to laugh at my joke. It's okay to say, oh, it's okay to just be, you don't have to be, just relax. I know it's easier said than done, but relax, be the human being that they are expecting to come and work on them, not a robot, and just do your thing. The other obvious things, obviously, know the thing that you're talking about, don't lie on your CV, all those things, but those are standard things. Me, I'm just talking about like a few things that easily go under the radar that people might not notice. Things like, okay, your presentation, what way you present yourself when it's great. Don't talk about your past employers in a negative light, and just be a human being. Just communicate and let the other person feel the human being on the other side, not just
Wow.
someone that is trying to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's fantastic. Thank you for that response. Then the next two questions, because of our time, most people want remote jobs, most especially if you're working in Nigeria. You want to have access to foreign jobs and all that. And are there ways as an entry level candidate? Are there ways that someone can secure remote jobs? Is it possible? And what are the things that needs to be considered in trying to search for remote opportunities?
So the thing is, remote opportunities have always been there. I personally know a developer who has like 50 years of experience. He was doing remote jobs, so remote jobs are even in Nigeria, right? But the thing is that um you see that 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 was a golden year for the Lagos tech scene because there were lots of remote jobs. COVID happened, many things happened. Lots of funding for lots of startups came about. There was a general lack of tech talents globally. They were now reaching into Africa, things like that. It's Nigeria to get tech talents, things like that. Unfortunately, I hate to be the one to break that news. That time has kind of gone. That time of when they'll be looking for remote roles. And there are many remote roles out there right now, but they expect that person to be based in some particular places. You know, if there's a 100% remote role in the US, they expect that you're based in the US. They're looking for one in Europe and the UK. They expect that you're based there. People still look outside, but it's no more as common as before. But if you still want to get a remote role, right, you need to look for those. First, in cybersecurity, it's kind of fair. I think some stock analysis roles are out there for remote, right? But then again, it's hard for me to provide advice on this because it's kind of tough. First, in cybersecurity, people don't like 100% remote. In fact, these days, a lot of companies don't offer full remote. They will tell you that it's hybrid. You must come to the office one way or the other. But for roles that can be done remotely, yes, I think being a stock analyst can be done remotely, and there's a demand for that. right? Cloud security also can also be done remotely. So I would say if you are really looking for those remote roles, jump into cloud security, jump into SOC analysis and whatnot. I know that it's two remote, those are the two roles that can go remote because it's technical and sometimes you just need people who are sometimes when it comes to really technical roles, the pool of talent around that company may not be a lot, so they don't try to reach outside. If you're trying to do GRC and all of that, you may get a remote role, but like I said earlier, GRC, there are a lot of people in GRC because it's the easiest to get into. And once it's the easiest to get into, they'll get lots of people in there, you know. So I'm not saying it's impossible, it's very possible, but the chances are much lower, you know. So just explore more technical roles. And yes, probably uh web VAPT also might get some remote roles, but then again, that's one of the more interesting areas too. So there are lots of people out there that in VAPT also. So I would say yeah, just get into those cloud roles. That will give you a higher chance of getting a
So
remote
there
job.
are more cloud roles there are more remote roles in cloud roles opportunities, VATs, and all that.
Absolutely. I think, and again, it's not like I have one data company somewhere that sources these things, right? But based on the trends that I'm seeing, you know, there is that ongoing demand for people who are skilled in cloud security. It's an ongoing thing. So
One last thing that we'll try to say, what advice do you have for negotiating a cybersecurity job offer? I know you.
what do you mean? I don't have any advice for that. Like that for recruiters, it's a recruiter that will tell you, you know, give you advice. I see the truth is, um, there's no silver bullet to this thing. Whatever you're asking for depends on the company, depends on their budget, depends on, you know, I mean, recruiter to tell you that, see, don't try to put forward a figure, try and understand what the budget is for that role. You know, but even the recruiters have seen this thing and they're like, so you don't tell me this, they'll push it back to you. You'll be like, oh, I want please, can you know the budget for this role? No, they'll be like, no, you tell me how much you want. You know, there's no silver bullet to this thing. But the truth is, first things first, it depends on how you want to approach it. If you are somebody who's experienced and you know you already know what your minimum figure is, fine, that's what that figure. There's nothing wrong. I've been in situations where I'll just throw one figure at them that they will pay. It happens to me in Lagos. A company approached me and like, okay, fine, come on. I'm like, I'm not sure. I just threw them one big figure. And they came back and they accepted the figure. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That was interesting, you know. So but then I'm an experienced person. For someone who is entry level, it's kind of tricky. And you know, as an entry level person, unless you have bills and many mouths to feed, your aim is not should not be to negotiate some kind of crazy high salary. The ability to negotiate a crazy high salary comes with skills and experience. You understand? And even with skills and experience, depending on the job market, there are sometimes when the kind of money you want to ask for is not what the market is trying to offer right now. At that point, you tell the marketer that, see, this is what I'm looking for, but I'm at a flexible point in my career right now. I'm not interested in money. I'm more like interested in the experience. You know, you just show them that and find they'll say, okay, fine. Maybe they cannot afford it, but they will see we can accept this offer. They cannot start to negotiate upwards then. But I don't know, man. I'm not when I'm done with interviews, when it comes to salary, somebody else that does an negotiation. I don't talk salary with people. You know, so it's hard to offer that. And unfortunately, my own experience I'm gonna have to give you is mainly from an experienced person's point of view. And that may not be very useful for people who are entry level trying to get it. Like I told you, the first job, I asked for one money. They were like, oh, if you don't collect this money, please leave. So I took the money because I was looking for experience, not money. Yes, I'm going to tell you how it is. That's the truth. You know, they are like, that's your God, this is how much it is. I remember one time, let me not name the company's name. One very popular internet company there, like, you know, I just done my CCMP. I was being like one senior network engineer, you know, and the guy that interviewed me was like, see, I would really like you to join. So I think that was an Indian or a Lebanese, you know, like, I really like you. I really wanted to join us, you know. I want you, you know, you've passed the interview. Just gonna talk to our HR lady down there. Oh, when the HR lady was one Nigerian girl, like, see, she was like, how much do you want? I now told her the figure. She just laughed. That laughter was so dispiriting. I was so disheartened. It reduced my spirit. I was like, I said, oh, cool, this is how much we're accepting. All right, this is how much we can give. I've not been offered that. That was the lowest salary I've ever been offered by anything, but in my entire life. But then again, it's hard to offer. It's hard to offer this thing when it comes to negotiation. If you're entry level, right? Understand what a living wage works for you, because entry level, yeah, what you're aiming for is experience, not you can get the high salaries, but if you're not interviewing for companies that can pay high salaries, if you're interviewing for regular companies who are just trying to meet their cybersecurity goals, you just need to balance things. Unfortunately, I don't think my advice has helped, but that's just how it's hard to give advice when it comes to negotiating salaries. But if your experience is easier, if you're entry level, just try and aim for something that gives you a great experience.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. So, if you're interviewing for an entry level role, your aim should be more of acquiring experience than getting
Exactly.
a big salary,
Yes, don't let anybody exploit you and you say Femi said that you should go and accept. No.
yeah, no, 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 no. Like
Yeah,
I understand what you're
yeah,
saying.
at the same time.
At least,
But
and
yes,
if
you
you
have
can,
to
if
understand
you
that
can
you're
bargain
entry
for,
level.
if you can bargain for big salary, don't hesitate to do that.
Exactly.
The primary goal is that you want to acquire knowledge and experience, and
Yep.
don't also shortchange yourself by also demeaning your value. Thank you so much for this session. We've actually spent more time than what we
Yeah, now yes.
it's actually
Appreciate it.
I believe that people will find this most people will find this session insightful, most especially talking about your first 5 years experience and all that, which is quite interesting. Before we go, I would just want you to say one or two words to people watching, in terms of maybe advice or thoughts that can maybe inspire them or anything.
Um, what I would just say is that those who have gone fine cybersecurity, they don't have two heads. You just one head, like Bo and I. So you want to get in there, just know that for anything good that is worth attaining, right? It requires patience and it just requires you just putting in the work, right? And that me saying that is not to discourage anyone, but it's just to help them become the kind of professional that can be competitive in the market, right? Because in reality, there are lots of professionals out there who are still trying to grasp with all the foundation. If you would give yourself an extra edge if you actually take your time to learn uh, core tech and core IT, and that's for those with a non-technical background. Go through those motions, and with time, you see the fruits yield. And please, the single biggest thing that can differentiate your career from everybody else is that continuous learning. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I have failed at it. I have picked up and failed at it. It's even if it's 30 minutes a day or 2 hours a week, or just make sure that at the end of the week you've put in some knowledge. At the beginning of the year, have your certification goals and try and meet, even not 100%, try and meet some of them. Let it be itemized so that you meet them, so that there's that consistency. Because at the end of the day, it's a compounding effect. I can tell you for free, once you really get neck deep into this career, you can go 2, 3 years without writing any exam. You are gaining the skills and experience, but you now realize that, see, you could have gone so much more further if you actually give yourself some time to study and make yourself much more better in your field and more employable for that role. So that's just it. Be patient with your studies, especially if you're entry level. Be patient with the path that you're taking, and please don't stop studying. Just continue studying.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Next time, maybe when we have in this session, we'll talk about something else. With
Yes, that'll be interesting. I'll
and
look
all
forward
that.
to it.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. And this will be the end of this session. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with this podcast session with people that will benefit from it. Might just be this session someone needs to have that confidence to step into cybersecurity. We are waiting for you. We know that you can do it. Anybody can be a professional. So far, you put your time, your energy, and you know what you're doing. Thank you. Stay blessed. Shalom.